It's the Fergs Wrestling Podcast. No Pigs today because he was fired from his job for subordination.
Yeah.
Oh, you are here?
Yeah, I'm just sat in the corner.
Oh, I see. You see, you had to officiate the main event, otherwise you were fired. Oh no, that's Stone Cold Steve Austin. You see, that's my tie into this show. What are we doing today?
Judgment Day, 1998.
We're finally starting our first, well, you can count our introduction arc and our 2008 arc, but the reason we set up this podcast, we've got, if you've seen our channel banner, it's got 6 wrestlers on there, and we're going to do an arc on each and every one of those wrestlers. And the first one we're starting with is Mr. Instant Classic himself, Christian Cage. And we're going to be going through the key moments in his career, where he debuted, where he won championships, where he moved to TNA, and all the juicy gossip in between as well. And we start off with the debut of Christian, his first ever match on Judgment Day. Technically, his first appearance in WWF was at Breakdown the previous month, but we're doing the first day where he wrestled, so that is here tonight. But there's also a lot of other stuff on this card, you know, the Undertaker and Kane face off with Austin as the guest referee, and if he doesn't give out a winner, he is fired. So high stakes for that matchup, and high stakes in several other matches on this card. You know, you got Val Venis and his, oh, you know what, well, it rhymes with Venus, but we ain't saying it just yet. We'll wait and get to that match. But yeah, it's Judgment Day 1998, the first of the Christian Cage arc, and I guess it would be fitting to really, before we get into the nostalgia segment, to talk about Christian Cage and why he is one of our favourite wrestlers. Do you want to give your thoughts on it, Piggy?
And quickly, before people are going to question, are we going to do TLC? Like, are we going to include that in his career? We will, but it won't be a full-fledged episode. It will be like the Royal Rumble 2003 and 1998. So we will do the matches, TLC 1, TLC 2. He was in TLC 3. I don't think he was in TLC 4.
He was in TLC 4.
So we'll do the 4 TLCs as separate reviews. We'll just review the match, because we're not watching a SmackDown, WrestleMania 17, SummerSlam 2000, and there's one I'm missing.
The
WrestleMania 2000.
Raw Roulette. When they had
Raw Roulette.
Yeah.
So,
obviously, we would watch them. It's just that I feel like they're quite important matches on their own, and they'd be better as a standalone video, just doing all of those. So that's what we're doing. And yeah, Christian Cage, he is someone who, he's had a lot of evolution throughout his career, and he has gone through a lot of changes, a lot of different styles, a lot of different kind of character tweaks and stuff, heel, babyface, whatever, and he's still tearing it up today, at least at the time recording. He is out injured at the moment, but is still in a prominent position on the AEW card as of his last appearance. So, yeah, your thoughts on Christian Cage overall?
I think Christian will go down as probably one of the most underrated wrestlers. And I know people will jump to the comments and go, well, he won World Heavyweight Championships. Yeah, but, and I don't mean this harsh, I know Edge had to retire. But let's be honest, had Edge not had to retire, would Christian have been a world champion in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it felt like it could have gone that way if they were going to do Edge versus Christian, but I don't think it would have been as likely, you know? So, that's fair enough. And, you know, to be fair to him, he should have won so many world championships in WWE. For whatever reason, it just never really happened. I know, you know, people like to say mid-carders should have won more world championships all the time. You know, you go back in time and you look at all sorts of stuff. But Christian was on a trajectory up to the top of the card on multiple occasions in his career, particularly, I think, 2003, 2004. He could have really picked up, and even 2005, which, you know, we'll get to all of those moments where he nearly broke through into the main event scene. But even like his return in 2009 could have been pushed to the top of the card, but it just never really happened, and it's a shame. You know, he's obviously had great successes, but there's always like a what if there. He could have achieved more, and that's just kind of a testament really to how good the guy is. Like, I think you said in a couple episodes ago, Christian's got like the best footwork of any wrestler, and that's not really...
He does. Like, a lot of people just look at Christian and go, well, he's Christian, because of that one commentator who went, it's Christian. But, like, if you really look at Christian, he is... Like, you have these wrestlers who you look at and, like, this is how you be a wrestler. Christian is a wrestler's wrestler. Like, so if you want to learn in-ring promos, Christian. If you want to learn footwork, Christian. If you want to learn basic moves, Christian. If you want to look at simple matches that won't take up 20 to 40 minutes, Ultimate Warrior versus Hulk Hogan, for instance, Christian is who you go to. Same with Billy Gunn. Well, Billy Gunn is a different subject. We'll get to him shortly. But Christian is just a wrestler's wrestler. He is simply one of the best. And that's all I can say.
Yeah, you can put him in there with anybody as well, and I feel like he can have a good to great match with almost anybody, and that's a sign of a great wrestler. And we'll talk about it later on in this card as well, because I think they're not really similar in any way, apart from the fact that I think they're like, wrestlers like X-Pac. He's like a test. If you put someone against X-Pac to see if they can work a certain style, and I feel like Christian is in that kind of same category. It feels like he's been a veteran for his entire career in the way that he's kind of evolved and changed, So we will talk about Christian, but obviously he's not the main focus on this show, although he does have his debut match here tonight, and there are a lot of stakes riding on the main event tonight. We've got the Undertaker and Kane going one-on-one, and this lead-in to Judgment Day was the best run of Raw that I think the company have ever had, and I don't know if you've ever seen the Raws leading up to this, but it's the ones that have... So, right, the first Raw after Breakdown leading into Judgment Day, there's 3 Raws. So the first one is the infamous the Zamboni, when he drives the Zamboni into the ring and beats up McMahon. And then the second week is Bedpan McMahon, where McMahon's in the hospital. And the third week is where he pulls cement in the Corvette of Vince McMahon. So a really cool couple of episodes there, really heavy-hitting stuff. And this is around the time as well where WCW's in the mud. Well, not quite in the mud just yet, but they're certainly on their way to being completely blitzed by the WWF. And it seems like this is kind of the catalyst for this kind of string of shows. And, spoiler alert, but this show doesn't really live up to those lofty kind of hype expectations, I guess. But that's because partly it was Vince Russo booking at the time, and you didn't really have the wrestling quality that you have nowadays. It was more story-based, which is fine in itself. It's just, when you're paying for a pay-per-view as you would have done at this time, it's not really what you want to see. And there were a lot of cool things going on in 1998, including the video game. I think this is what we do for nostalgia. We'll start off with the video game because it's one that I've played before, funny enough.
Oh. It's also the year you were born, wasn't it?
It was.
It's WWF Warzone, the first game that a lot of people dislike.
Yeah, it's not. Is this the one with the promos, the Ahmed Johnson in front of the in front of the warehouse?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it is.
So just go on YouTube and type in Warzone Ahmed Johnson promos because it's something fantastic to look at. And yeah, I know this game doesn't have favourable reviews, but I do remember it from, when I was a kid actually. I went round my mate's house because they had a bunch of PS1 games, and I remember Warzone was one of them. And this was like when I was kind of fresh into the WWE, so I wasn't really too familiar with the characters. I was like, oh, why the hell's Kane wearing a mask and stuff like that? And then seeing like the Undertaker in his old kind of gear and Triple H in the the classic attire, and this is the first real exposure I had to the Attitude Era was through this game. So that's what kind of it it piqued my interest, I would say. The weapons stuff was good, but yeah, I'm sure if I went back and played it now, it wouldn't be my cup of tea. Did you ever play this game?
No, I didn't.
No, fair enough. But there's also a lot going on in the world of toys. What toys in the wrestling world were being released in 1998? Could you find any?
No, but I'd assume Bone Crunching Action would have been released around this time. I don't know what series, but I don't know.
They were moving into the Jacks, weren't they? They were moving into the Jacks around this time, I think. After being with... who was it before? Hasbro?
Yeah, I think it was Hasbro, or I think so.
Yeah, so they're moving away from that soon, and I do remember this. Did you remember the ones that sweat?
Maximum Sweat, that comes out in 1999.
Oh, there we go. Well, we got another year to... Well, we can talk about that in No Mercy 99, which is the next episode, by the way. So that's cool. And finally, what was happening on the competition? Well, not just the competition. Raw and Nitro, they're tearing up Monday night. So the Raw, the Monday before this, I should say, what was going on Nitro and what was going on on Monday Night Raw.
Before we get into it, I just want a quick question I have. I know we kind of talked about it on the Royal Rumble 98, but what is your opinion on the Attitude Era?
Oh, yeah, because we did briefly go over it a little bit on the Royal Rumble 98 video, which if you want to watch it, it's on the channel to watch. It's a bonus. And yeah, I remember saying there, and I'll say it again, I really love the Attitude Era. If you look at it objectively, like, it's not about the wrestling for the most part, it's about the stories they tell, and yeah, I love it. And I think I disagree with you, because you like 2000 to 2001, and I still say that's like the best Attitude Era. You've got the mix of wrestling and storylines without it being too gratuitous with, like, the over-the-top sex and violence, that kind of thing, and the edgy stuff. But I really like, aside from all the edgy stuff they were pushing in 98 and 99, I just love the pacing of it. And, it might be too fast for some people, and I get that. The wrestling may not be of the highest quality, but I just like that everyone on the card had a gimmick. Like, love the oddities. I love Al Snow. I love all the undercard guys. And the main event with Steve Austin fighting against the odds against everyone was awesome. And, we had the likes of Hell in a Cell between Undertaker and Mankind. We had WrestleMania 15, the main event. Like, I know it wasn't the greatest card ever, but it was still a solid main event. And then even, like, you go into the summer of 99 and you've got Triple H's rise to the top of the card. So I think there's a lot of stuff really in 1998 that gets overlooked, I think, because a lot of people these days kind of take work rate over storytelling, and I personally loved all of it, to be honest. But yeah, you can reiterate what you were saying, because I know you weren't as much of a fan of 98 as I was.
And for a little spoiler, I know we're saying this and it's coming out in March, and that's the third month of the year, but a little spoiler, after 2008, we are going to what is arguably the greatest year in wrestling. Not for WCW. And we're not going near WCW. I refuse.
Oh, we could do a little one.
No, little one.
Oh, we have to do Slamboree. We have to do the Triple Cage at Slamboree. That's my one request.
Yes, okay. We will do that. But a little spoiler for next year, we will be going to the year 2000. Not the year 3000, where they live underwater. The year 2000, where they all thought that robots were going to kill everyone.
Not yet, anyway. There's still time.
There's still time, but my thoughts on the Attitude Era, not a big fan of 98, not a big fan of 99, because that was more Vince Russo, and I'm not the biggest fan of Vince Russo, to be honest. I kind of think he was a bit of a there's a Father Ted quote, or no, an Alan Partridge quote that I always put to Vince Russo, which is "You're a mentalist." That's how I think of Vince Russo. I just go, whenever someone asks me, "What do you think of Vince Russo?" It's always the Alan Partridge. "You're a mentalist."
That's how he books his shows.
Yeah, he's just watching Alan Partridge. Like, what did he do? Al Snow pierces his foot on a spike. Stone Cold picks up a block of cheese and tells him to smell like you, mother.
Smell my cheese.
No, there was no Irish wrestlers in the Attitude Era, so I can't make that one.
Oh, damn it, never mind. Kane! Can't hear me. Not Kane!
What would have worked for, like, what Father Ted storyline would have worked for that?
Oh, the corporate ministry getting lost in the lingerie section of that would have been. I would pay to see that. And you've just got the Undertaker going, "It's the world's largest lingerie section, I understand."
Imagine, I don't know what. I'm trying to imagine the farmer going up to Vince McMahon going, "I hear you're a racist now, father." And he's like, "What did you say? What did you say?" "Well, everyone's heard about a father. I hear you're..."
Good for you for standing up to AEW.
How did you get into that sort of thing now, Father?
It's not.
Should we all be rapists now, Father? Yeah, if you thought I said racist, I didn't.
Yeah. Oh, he's back.
Allegedly.
He's back in a big way.
Allegedly. We have to say allegedly, because we do not want Vince McMahon suing us. So, allegedly.
No, I can't afford that. So, yeah. Allegedly, yeah.
But, back to the Attitude Era. Yeah, I love the year 2000. I've seen... 2000 has one of my non-canon favourite matches, because I sort of have two favourite. It's very hard to say, but I have 10 favourite wrestlers. 5 are to the non-piggy gimmick. 5 are in the piggy gimmick. That's why all the Christian and Monty Brown is all in the piggy first, and then outside the piggy first, the real me. I understand I sound like a schizophrenic when I say this, but you know. And one of my actual non-piggy favourite matches is Rock versus Triple H, and the 30-minute Iron Man match from No Mercy Backlash. I think Backlash.
60 minutes from Judgment Day, yeah. The one with the Undertaker. The one where the Undertaker comes back at the end.
Yeah, he comes riding in on. Apparently, he comes in on Limp Bizkit, which is not how it really went, but on the network it is.
Oh yeah, but recently, well, I say recently, as we're recording this, in January, he came back with the American Badass Kid Rock.
Yeah, but on the network, he didn't have that.
Yeah, true.
In the 2000s. Another favourite Attitude Era moment is... we can talk about our favourite moments before we get into this, because this is just really... We're in the first year of the Attitude Era. It differs on who you ask. Vince Russo believes it happened when Goldust debuted, which now you know why I call him a mentalist.
Mm-hmm. He just makes stuff up.
Because another favourite Attitude Era moment is, I think, it's I don't know if this counts as Attitude Era because this is heel Austin, but it's when Austin has the little cowboy hat on with Kurt Angle and he's playing the guitar.
I think we're beyond the Attitude Era at that point when Austin's got the little cowboy. No, it's Kurt Angle's got the little cowboy hat on in it. Yeah, but I do like that moment.
Yeah, and Austin is playing. I forget what he's playing, but he's playing something, and I forget what he's playing.
Jimmy Crackcorn, and I don't care. I've got Olympic gold.
and then he just grabs the guitar and smashes it against Vince McMahon's head. I don't know why that moment cracks me up so much.
My favourite is probably it's like, well, not my favourite, obviously, there's bigger ones, but like a small little backstage skit that I like a lot is the one where it's like Triple H's birthday party, and I think that like he's got, or it's Stephanie's birthday, I think, and then something's going on in his head, and he's like, because he's feuding with Kurt Angle at this point, and Angle's there too, and he's furious, and he's just annoyed, and then Edge and Christian are there, and we'll talk about Christian. They're in the corner playing their little kazoo. They're playing My Time on the kazoo, and then they go, "Oh, who's this?" And they go, "You think you know me?" And he's doing the gimmick on the kazoo, and then he goes, I think Chris Benoit comes in at one point, and they play, "Here is Chris Benoit, and he's really mean. Here is Chris Benoit, he's really angry." And they do the little kazoo on the... I've got, for the life of me, I cannot remember what episode it is, but go and look it up.
Yeah, I remember that episode. I also love, I don't know again if this is post that, because I don't know where the Attitude Era ends for people, because people have different opinions of when the Attitude Era ends. People say it ends when Vince McMahon buys WCW. People say it ends after the Invasion. I think you have that little 2002 era before you get into the Ruthless Aggression era. They have that little WrestleMania 18 as a...
This is my this is one of my wrestling pet peeves, is this, and I'm not very stubborn when it comes to wrestling interpretation, but there's a very clear interpretation of what the Attitude Era is, and this might cause, well, it shouldn't cause controversy. It's the day where Vince did the speech on Raw, and they introduced the scratch logo on Raw, where he said, "Now more than ever, we're trying to improve our product with more content for, and he does the whole speech to camera, and they have the little scratch logo. That's the start of the Attitude Era. That's like December 97, and it ends at WrestleMania 17 because it's the peak of wrestling. There you go. And that shouldn't be questioned. That's just my view. And I'm not very stubborn on a lot of things, but I'm stubborn on this.
Yeah, all right. But I'm not going to argue with that. Another Attitude Era moment that I love is it's where it's at one of the 2000 pay-per-views where Edge and Christian don't want to wrestle, and Christian is throwing yogurt. I think it's yogurt or something into the toilet. I was like, he's throwing up, but he's not actually throwing up.
Oh yeah, and they've got the camera looking down from Mick Foley's point of view as well. Kind of breaks the fourth wall a little bit.
Another one is, I understand people don't count this as a phase of Foley, and I know I'm in the minority here of like the one person that loves him. To me, Commissioner Foley is my favourite Foley, of like how comedic he was. Like, Commissioner Foley is the Foley where The Rock drops his sunglasses, and then Foley picks them up.
And The Rock thanks you for that.
Yeah, and then the Rock says something, and Mick Foley responds, and then he runs around the ring.
Oh, he goes, it doesn't matter what you think, and then he runs around the ring and high-fives everyone.
Yeah.
I like that.
My favourite Foley. I love Commissioner Foley.
Especially after, like, such a, not a slog, but, with the heel authority figures, with the corporation and all that for, like, a solid year, to have, like, a face authority figure for a good solid couple of months was a nice change of pace, I think. And that's what made 2000 so iconic in many ways.
Yeah, well, and then for WCW they went, we're going to reboot it. See, the one disappointing thing about WCW being bought by WWF is apparently, and now I don't know if this is true, so take this as a rumour, this could just be the internet making up rumours, like how they make up a rumour that Hulk Hogan was somehow involved in Martin Luther King Day. I don't know how, but you know what I mean. But apparently a rumour is that if Eric Bischoff bought WCW, Sean O'Hare would have been a world champion in WCW. He would have got the Goldberg push, which I'm like, kind of wish WCW stayed around then.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely felt like those four guys were the future, and I think this isn't just our bias, by the way, because we'll do a Sean O'Hare arc, but I feel like he was definitely one that they would have pushed more had they stayed in business. And I don't know what happened in WWE, honestly. Maybe it's presentation, isn't it? It's all that stuff. But we'll talk about that for all of these arcs, really. All these wrestlers we do. It's Christian, Cage, Monty Brown, Sean O'Hare, and Test, and there's some others, but you can go
and Billy Gunn.
Billy Gunn.
I think.
Yeah, that's it. And we'll talk about all the what ifs about those guys, and so Attitude Era. I'm a fan of '98. Obviously, you're not as much, but I'm sure I'll probably be more on your side after this show because it wasn't that great, but yeah.
We'll get into it at Judgment Day. There is a question I have that I will ask you before we begin Judgment Day. I will ask you after Raw and Nitro, if that's all right.
Of course.
So on Raw, a dark match was Disciples of Apocalypse. 8-Ball and Skull defeated Julio Sanchez and Steve Corino. The New Age Outlaws, Billy Gunn and the Road Dogg, shut up Road Dogg, versus LOD 2000 with Animal and Draws. Yeah, the best LOD. Screw you, Hawk. I'm a big fan of Heidenreich and Animal. Is it Heidenreich and Animal?
Yeah.
Hawk. I don't know which one died in all three.
You're talking Animal and Heidenreich, yeah.
Yeah, that's my Legion of Doom. Screw your Animals and Hawk. Yeah, Heidenreich. Get in there. like it goes, like when people go LODs in the top 5 tag teams, I go, oh yeah, LOD is in the top 5 tag teams. And then they go, oh yeah, so which one? Animal and Heidenreich.
Well, they won the WWE tag team titles, so, and that lineage is still going on today.
Come on. People are going to unsubscribe now when they hear that I prefer LOD.
Heidenreich and Puke. They're the best two members of LOD.
I can't remember who else was in LOD.
Sonny. And the little puppet. The little puppet. Do you remember the puppet?
Rocco.
Yeah, that's it.
Animal and Draws with Hawk ended in a no contest in a WWF Tag Team Championship match. I think that's where the Headbangers come in and smash a guitar boombox.
The JVC Kaboom Box.
Over, over Road Dogg's head. Ken Shamrock defeated everyone's boy. He needs an arc. He will get an arc. After our wrestlers, Steve motherfucking Blackman.
Hell yeah.
In the WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament first round match in 2:30. Val Venis, or Val Penis, whatever you want to call him, or Val Transphobic Venus, with Terry Reynolds. Oh yeah, did you know about that, by the way? But Val Venis is apparently transphobic.
What do you mean apparently? Can we say allegedly?
Did you know that?
No, I know that. I know, but we don't have to say allegedly for that, is there? He's not only that, but there's a lot of stuff to unpack. He's definitely someone who's gone off the deep end.
Yeah. So we won't be speaking nicely about Val Venis. Like, I personally, everyone goes, Val Venis was a great gimmick. I'm like, he was a PORN star who was a gimmick. Like, how is that a gimmick? That's not a gimmick.
It is a gimmick. It's an occupation.
I understand. If you want to be a PON or star, then do what China did and star in their movies. Don't come into a wrestling business and be like, look, man, I've got a great gimmick. I'm ready, cocked and loaded. I'm coming in and I'm coming hard.
It's such a good gimmick. I love it way more than because when he had to drop that part of his gimmick, really, when he was in the because he stuck around until, do you know when he left WWE?
2008, I bet.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. So he's still rocking around in the bloody HD era and still doing the ladies' man shtick with his bold little head and greasy towel. You know, at least this Val Venis had a, past 98, I could not care for Val Venis as a character or a wrestler.
I never cared for Val Venis. And then there are people will be like, you only don't like him because he's transphobic. No, even if he wasn't. Like, Val Venis never interested me.
No.
Like, I never found him interesting. When I seen him on this card, I was like, Jesus Christ, give me a vodka and coke. He cannot wrestle.
I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but we'll get to it.
Val Venis with Terry Reynolds, anyways, defeated Mark Nero with Jacqueline. She was in TNA, wasn't she, Jacqueline?
Indeed, yes.
In a WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament first round match, Mankind defeated Mark Henry in a WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament first round match. X-Pac, or Pac, defeated Jeff Jarrett in a WWF Intercontinental Title first round match. Ken Shamrock defeated Val Venis, here he is again, in the WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament semi-final match. X-Pac defeated Mankind in a WWF Intercontinental Title Tournament semi-final match, and Ken Shamrock defeated X-Pac in a WWF Intercontinental Title final match to win the vacated Intercontinental Championship in 3 minutes and 56 seconds. I didn't get the timestamp for the other ones because I forgot.
I'm guessing all the timestamps were like 2 minutes because they managed to fit an entire tournament into the span of like an hour.
Well, Mankind Mark Henry went for 3 minutes 18 seconds. I don't know if I give the timestamp for Val Venis and Terry McMarrow. That went for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. X-Pac and Jeff Jarrett went for 3 minutes and 9 seconds. Ken Shamrock and Val Venis went for 4 minutes and 36 seconds. X-Pac and Mankind went for 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Ken Shamrock and X-Pac went in 3 minutes and 56 seconds. And Steve Austin and The Rock defeated Kane and Undertaker by DQ in 11 minutes and 33 seconds. And your commentators were Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler. Your interviewers were Michael Cole. Your ring announcer was Tony Chimmel. Your referees were Tim White, Earl Hebner, Mike Chioda, and Jack Dawn.
Nice. And as for Nitro, you know how we love our Nitro.
Oh, no. Val Venis should have been on Nitro. Like, personally, he would fit right in. Alright. Rack defeated Lodi in 1 minute and 31 seconds. Del Torborg defeated Kendall Windham in 4 minutes and 22 seconds. Yes, he appears. Alex Wright, that's Wonder Kid.
Yeah.
Defeated. Yeah, that's Wonder Kid for XL Pro, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Alex Wright defeated Fifth Finlay in 1 minute and 59 seconds. Chavo Guerrero Jr., Psychosis, and Super Calo defeated Chico Play, La Parca, and Feleno Fee in 5 minutes and 31 seconds. Juventud Guerrera, Unmasked, defeated Prince Iakea in 4 minutes and 2 seconds. Chris Jericho, champion, defeated Raven to retain the WCW World Television Championship in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Goldberg defeated the Giant by countout in the WCW World Heavyweight title no disqualification match. Wait, it's a no disqualification match. How did he win by countout?
Because there's no disqualifications, not no countouts, you see.
Yeah, but in a no disqualification match, there isn't supposed to be countouts.
No, you can use a chair, you can't leave, you know? You just can't leave the ring.
No wonder it went out of business.
Alright, let me just say, I have seen this Goldberg versus the Giant match, and from what I can recall, it was fantastic.
Okay.
So I would definitely recommend watching it.
And even though I don't like this next person, and it's not Sting, I do think that WCW blew their load here because Sting and the Warrior defeated Bret Hart and Hollywood Hogan by DQ in 5 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, I understand we're not going to read book. I will leave it after this. The commentators were Tony Schiavone, Mike Tenay, Larry Sabisco, and Bobby Heenan. So I think it was Larry Sabisco for the first hour, and then Bobby Heenan for the second and third hour, I think. And your ring announcer was Dave Penzer. And also, that was the episode where Chucky appears.
Oh yeah, and Rick Steiner had to sell it.
What I wanted to say about the Sting and Warrior thing, to me, and you might disagree, but they've literally announced it the same night. Whereas I would have done it either the second night Warrior was in and be like, we're going to have this big main event match in 3 weeks' time. Sting and the Ultimate Warrior versus Bret Hart and Hollywood Hogan. In 3 weeks on Nitro. You can't miss it. Then all the ratings would have come in. Because he's still popular at this point, the Warrior. He doesn't go off the deep end until the early 2000s. So, like, you could have hyped it up and then, you know, could have, you could have had a good buy rate for that episode, but no, we announced it the same night. That's how we get the fans.
It's silly, isn't it? Because I guess, I don't know, if you're watching, you got to count on the fact that people are watching Nitro in the first hour and then are thinking about switching to the Raw. Like, you can't, you know, if you, yeah, like you said, I don't understand why you wouldn't, especially during this time when they're battling for ratings to, I suppose they're counting on the product selling itself, not the matches. Do you know what I mean?
Well, who really wants to watch Rat versus Lodi? Like,
someone did.
Oh,
oh, who was it? Dale Torborg and Kendall Windham.
Yeah, like, no offense. WCW, like, it mentals me that Eric Bischoff did not know how to. Because people will go, it was Ted Turner, and excuse me, I'm drinking a lot of Sidona. People will go, it's Ted Turner's fault. It's not Ted Turner's fault. Eric Bischoff and whoever was bookers there had absolutely no idea how to do ratings, because they were like, we'll announce this match for the third hour. In the first hour, that's how the ratings will get in, compared to if you announced it 3 weeks ahead of time. You get the fans online, because this was starting to happen online. 98, 99 is when you start getting the chat rooms. If you announced it ahead of time, it would have combated with Raw. Raw would have had to think, oh my God, what do we have to do here? There's literally two, I don't want to say the Warrior was the greatest wrestler in the ring, but at the time, two of the biggest names in wrestling, Hogan and Warrior, in the same ring with Sting and Bret Hart. Like, that would have drew.
Here's my theory. Because Raw was often taped, then Nitro had the advantage of being able to put on what they wanted on that live show. They could change things on the fly. And I feel like, had they announced something for 3 weeks' time, that would have given time for Raw to counter-program that and potentially have more viewers. Like, they could have done, like Austin versus Undertaker, for instance, on that show, or what have you. So they could have counter-programmed. So I understand why, at this time, with ratings as tight as they were, to do something on the night to give an air of unpredictability as to, as opposed to saying this is going to happen next week when Raw might have a chance to counter that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, but like, I wish WCW knew how to market. That's all I wish.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like it was only 2 years their peak, in terms of beating the WWF. Only like 2 to 3 years where they were like on a roll in terms of like mainstream wrestling giant. Because by the time, even in '99 they're still like a popular commodity, but by 2000 it's a completely different beast.
Oh no, 2000 WCW is like people will always say 2000 WCW is better than modern day wrestling, and I turn to you and I go, you're on drugs, because if you think WCW 2000 is better than an episode of AEW Dynamite or an episode of WWE Raw, then I will gladly assist you to the front door, give you a right kick up the hole and tell you to leave, and come back with a better opinion.
I'm telling you now, Raw is the best it's been in years, and I'm not even joking. And it's not saying it's great now, it still has issues, but like, I'd take what's going on TV right now over what's happening on Nitro in like tail end of '98. Because aside from, it has its moments though, that's the thing, and it's got the hype behind it. I think if you had the crowds that they had in 1998 and put them in today's wrestling, it would be absolutely incredible. And I don't know why. There's a bunch of reasons why it's not as popular today. I mean, but that's another question.
A boom will happen. I can assure you that. A boom will happen again. But the problem was, and I'm not blaming The Rock, and I'm not blaming Brock Lesnar, but what happened in the 2000s was The Rock became too popular for the WWE, and The Rock went, you see, Vince, Hollywood is calling me. And Vince went, what? You see, Hollywood. And then The Rock went, going to Hollywood. And then John Cena went, you see, Vince? And then Vince went, what? You see, don't mean to alarm you, but Hollywood is calling. And then Batista went, I quit. Hollywood's calling me. Screw you, bye. And then the WWE went, right, that's it. No more building stars, except for Roman Reigns. And that's why no stars have been built, because they refuse to make the stars popular than WWE in case they leave and go to Hollywood, or they leave and go to AEW, or they leave and wrestle in Japan in an exploding barbed wire exploding shark match.
Well, if you build your stars, then they'll go out. The Rock will go to Hollywood, and Batista will go to Hollywood, and if you're on good terms with them, they will talk about WWE, and they will put over your product. So I don't understand this notion. I'm hoping that goes away in the next couple of years. Like, if Roman Reigns wants to go and take a part-time leave or something, that he can use his platform to draw attention to, money feuds and stuff like that. And I don't see why they can't do that. And, I hate Logan Paul, right? Let me just say that off the bat before I say this. But having him there constantly on his podcast, constantly talking about WWE, brings it into a new sort of space, if that makes sense. It puts more hype towards the product because he's got these wrestlers on his podcast. He's got, he's doing the kayfabe things to sell his injuries and stuff of that nature. So, like, stuff like that is good for business. And, the Bad Bunny stuff as well is fantastic. And I wish they would do that more. They would allow their wrestlers more freedom to, explore what's out there, really.
See, this is what I hate, because people will always go, the wrestlers of today are not as popular as the wrestlers in 98. Because the wrestlers in 98 were allowed to be like, Vince, you, I'm not going to say the word, Vince, you, like, they were allowed to, I'm not saying swearing is the right way, but they were allowed more freedom. The wrestlers for the last 10 to 20 years were truckled by Vince. And Vince was like, right, pal, you've got to say you love fruity plates. You've got to say you love the fruity plates. And they're like, what are you on about, Vince? And Vince's like, you've got to say the line. And the wrestlers would go out, say the corny line, And then Vince would be like, "That's great, lad. That's great." And then the wrestler, and then all the fans in line would be like, "What the hell was that all about?" The wrestlers do not have freedom until recently, and I hope this is the era where we finally get rid of The Rock, Batista, John Cena, and we build to the future of Rollins, Reigns, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, sadly Logan Paul, Cody Rhodes. I hope this is the era where we finally build stars.
But it does feel like they are definitely on the way to doing that, and this is obviously coming out in March, right? But it's still early days on the road to WrestleMania at this point, but it does feel like there are legitimate people that can kind of break through into the mainstream, and I'm talking like you know obviously Roman Reigns and that, but then you've got likes of Seth Rollins as well, who has a lot of more character, I think, and more personality. You can tell they're having more fun with it, and I think that really helps the product a lot. And yeah, I just think it's a good. It can only be a good thing, and that's the main takeaway from this era of WWE or WWF is that they're firing on all cylinders popularity wise, and it's because they allowed the wrestlers to really craft their own characters, and I'm hoping we see more of a return to that nowadays. Because I think that's something that's lacking in mainstream wrestling today is good character work.
I do think wrestling will have another boom. AEW will have a boom. Same with WWE. There is another boom. It's just when will it happen? Like, people go, like, a boom will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. I guarantee it.
They AEW was so close, and I'm not even joking. I know it sounds like a typical AEW mark thing to say, but AEW was so close in like 2021 when they got Punk and Bryan, and they were bringing back, fans who liked Punk before, and then, partly through Punk's own fault in many ways, but also like just other communication breakdowns and stuff like that where it didn't come to fruition. And now I feel like with a newer creative mind in Triple H, that could have changed by the time this video comes out because things are changing constantly. But hopefully, wrestling has a much more successful 2023. Not to say that 2022 wasn't a success, but, we're rambling anyway. It's been like 30, 40 minutes and we've not even talked about Judgment Day yet. Should we just get into this show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The question I have before we get into Judgment Day, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Because I've seen it a lot in the main event, and I personally don't like it. Now, you might be like, I bloody love this. What are you on about? What is your thoughts on fans throwing stuff at the wrestlers, at the heels, at the baby faces? Because I personally think it's disrespectful.
Oh, yeah. I think obviously, right, this is disregarding the personal safety thing, right? I think it looks awesome. It looks awesome, right? That you've got that much heat. And it was like the you remember when Matt Cardona won the GCW Championship and the fans started pelting. As a visual and like a performance piece, it looks so cool. But on the flip side, yeah, don't throw shit at people. That's gross.
Yeah, like I seen Vince cutting the promo at the end, because spoiler alert, Vince appears at the end. And they were all throwing stuff at him, and I was like, I understand it's to get heat, but really, maybe it's because I'm from a different time where this didn't happen in wrestling as it did in the 90s. But looking back at it, I'm like, no, just don't.
No, it's weird. And but then again, you remember the Zamboni segment and someone threw like a life-size Stone Cold blow-up doll in the ring. That was cool. I think that added to the moment. Stuff like that and like beach balls and stuff I hate. That's just obnoxious. But
a beach ball I wouldn't mind being thrown into the ring.
Because at least it's soft, Yeah,
a can. Like, I understand people go, well, it's an empty can. But even a can, like, Jesus.
Yeah, I'd say plastic cups are fine. Not fine. You shouldn't do it. But, like, if you've got something that's, as long as you're not throwing cans and bottles and pennies and things like that, it's a problem in the football as well, where like players have been taking corners and like opposing fans have thrown pennies, and that's like real gross stuff, so yeah, not a fan of that.
The last spoiler alert, not spoiler alert, the last time it happened in WWE, to my knowledge, was in Saudi Arabia in either 2018 or 2019 when Natalia walked to the ring. A fan grabbed a water bottle in Saudi Arabia and absolutely pelted it and hit her right in the leg.
Yeah, that's gross.
Okay, personal beliefs I understand, but fuck you to whoever did that.
Yeah,
Not
just in general, don't do that.
because I'll probably block you.
Yeah. But that's... Yeah, so not a fan of throwing stuff in the ring. But, yeah. Move on to the pay-per-view. It is Judgment Day, after all. Commentators are Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler. And the main event, of course, we said...
Where's Mammy?
What?
Where's Mammy in this?
Who?
Judgment Day, where's Mammy?
Oh, of course. Yeah, and Prison Dom. Hard Time Dom. Yeah, not that Judgment Day. But Mammy's not here tonight. But my Mammy...
Hold on here. I know how to upset wrestling fans. Are you ready?
Go on.
Dominic Mysterio could out-wrestle Steve Austin. There you go.
That is the... I don't know whether that's the hottest take or the coldest take I've ever heard. Oh,
people are running to... That's how we get... That's how we get the views for it.
That's how you get the engagement. You get a bunch of people in the comments being like, how can this pig say that Austin is a bet? Deal with it, losers. Dom has been on the inside. He's seen things that we can only have in our nightmares, you know? So, fair enough.
Dom dropped the soap and Dom got absolutely domed.
He got diddled. Dom got diddled. Yeah.
Dom has seen things. Dom Mysterio could cut a better promo than Steve Austin could in his prime.
No.
And that's a fact.
All right, we're taking it too far. Taking it too far. Our opening contest.
Mysterio could out-wrestle Steve Austin, and I will fight anyone on that. Come on, comments. Bring it on. I will likely delete your comment, and so no one knows that I am right and you are wrong.
Yeah. we're controlling the narrative, not in an EC3 way, in a nice way. We've got Al Snow versus Mark Mero to kick us off tonight. I love Al Snow as a character. I quite like Mark Mero as well. I think he's got his place. But Al Snow, definitely one of my favourites from this era. Just his kind of head gimmick and his wacky gimmick, I think are very much over. And him in ECW was fantastic. I know the head joke is a little bit of a what's the word, juvenile, but yeah, I like it.
What does everybody want? What does everybody want?
An affordable housing.
And what does everybody need?
Affordable housing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, before the match, Jeff Jarrett comes out, and for some reason, hey, we're getting all the favourites here tonight. Christian, Jeff Jarrett, he's trying to fight Snow, but the referee presents it, and Mero manages to get a cheap shot in. So this is where Mero is like, he's not really the... I was going to say the powerhouse he once was, but not really. You know, because obviously Jacqueline and the Sable are having their feud, but it's not really featuring too much on this show, was it? I could be wrong. I can't remember.
No, it wasn't.
No, that's saved, because I thought for a minute, I tuned out. I'm not going to lie, throughout this show, I tuned out a lot. It's not the most thrilling show. It's more of a filler one on the Road to Survivor Series. But, you know, this match, it was fairly short. It wasn't too bad. You know, Mero, he's doing the heel stuff, but Snow talks to Head and then misses a moonsault. But yeah, you think that Sable could have been out here, but I don't know. Maybe that could have progressed the story a little bit more. I'm not sure. Mero does go up to the top, though. Misses a shooting star press. I mean, I forget every time that he can do that, which is quite impressive. But yeah, he TKO, countered into the snowplow, that they call it, and Al Snow wins. Al Snow, super over, and the crowd was really into it, so it helped this a lot. I thought it was a fine opener. What did you think?
What did I think? I think it was a match. That's all.
I mean, it wasn't terrible, and that's why I'm giving it you know, like a nice, because the thing is, and this is what I think made the Attitude Era great, is that even the worst match, with a great crowd, could help it a lot, you know, with fan participation and that. And, yeah, so I think this one was good because the crowd was into it. So, yeah, that's just my opinion. But, yeah, we get a flashback to Heat. Austin arrived, and, by the way, thoughts on having Heat as a pre-show? I quite like the concept.
it's hilarious that they don't do this in modern wrestling.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I think... What?
I said you'd think so, but then again, maybe the advent of the network makes the kind of concept of a pre-show heat kind of redundant because you already subscribe to the network, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but you think like do you know what AEW do for their pay-per-views?
Oh yeah, they do the buy-in on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, you think they do that on YouTube. I understand they do that. But you think you'd have a match and be like, right now, if you subscribe to the network and you can see Bob Holly versus Sparky Plug Crash Holly, and then you're like, oh my god, I've got to subscribe to the network so I can see this. You think like they do it, but
I think if they had main event that they've got now be in a more prominent place, like if they got like a deal where they could put it on YouTube or something, maybe, I'm not too sure, like AEW does with Dark, because on WWE main event they're still putting out some bangers of matches, like with some new NXT people, which I think more people need to see. And if you did that as like a pre-show thing or a kickoff, but I understand why they do it the way they do. So yeah, Austin has to change in the referee's closet. But yeah, it's fair enough because he's a referee. He's a smelly referee, and he's got to call the referee. He's got to call the match down the middle tonight. Next up, we've got LOD 2000 versus the DOA and Paul Ellering, Mr. .com. Paul Ellering here. You remember the swerve when they brought Ellering back?
Yeah, he was wearing a pink t-shirt, wasn't he? And
yeah, he goes, my new tag team is the DOA, and then suddenly, oh, well, he's not with the LOD anymore, because they were going to try and rehab LOD, I think, by bringing in Ellering, but they ended up swerving us and having him with DOA, which really led to nothing. So we've got Animal, Hawk, and Droz. Hawk and Animal beating up the Harris brothers. They were the Harris brothers, weren't they? Yeah. They're the Nazi twins.
Can we move on?
Yeah, am I allowed to say that? No, they got SS tattoos on their arms.
Oh, do they? I thought they were covered up in the Attitude Era.
Oh, they might have been covered, or maybe it was like a later thing. I'm not too sure. Anyway, that's just as a rule of thumb in my life. Any reference to the Third Reich tattooed on my body isn't a good idea. It's 2023 though. You know, we're looking at 98 through rose-tinted lenses, aren't we? You know, with our bloody woke agenda.
Yeah, we're too woke for this. We're too woke for the Attitude Era.
You wouldn't understand it.
Yeah. So what, we want to give people rights who deserve rights. So what if we want to do that? Bloody woke gone mad. Trans people. Oh my god. You get Sonny in a dress in a few months' time. That could be hilarious.
This match sucked. You know, I can give it a little bit of, you know, the Doomsday device is cool. The Droz sneaking in to get the win is quite nice, you know. But they didn't really do anything with Ellering in this match, so it was a bit weird. And also, like, if LOD are supposed to be the faces, why are they facing a disadvantaged DOA if they've got Paul Ellering there, you know? So, yeah, weird psychology to this one. What did you think?
It was again a match.
Yeah, not great. But this is what we came to see. It's the debut of Christian. Not quite yet. Brood Christian.
At last, you're in a faction.
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And he's with Gangrel, and he's taken on Taka
He's banging and banging.
He's banging and banging. Too right. And he's taken on Taka
Everyone loves Gangrel.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is a Gangrel love zone.
Yeah, I love Gangrel too. Again, like the Brood theme, best theme ever. It's up there.
It's up there for you, not for me. Christian's other themes are up there for me, though. At last, you're on your own. Dun, 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 dun. And if you close your eyes, your life, your truth reveals. And naked truth reveals, not truth reveals. And then, of course, my last adventure. Not my last bread, it's my last adventure. What are you on about? It's for TNA.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, it wouldn't be my last adventure. It'd be my first breath, not my last breath. My first breath.
Yeah, because he's stepping in.
Yeah.
And he's stepping into this match, challenging Taka Michinoku for the Light Heavyweight Championship. The Light Heavyweight Championship is a title that they really didn't do anything with, and it's weird to... Well, it's not weird, because I know they weren't into it, but to have a whole tournament and then it doesn't really come into play for, like... even after this, Christian, well, spoiler alert, Christian will lose it to Gilbert, and Gilbert will hold it for an entire year without being on TV, and then they'll lose it again. And they kind of did a little bit with it in 2000 with Dean Malenko and Scotty, but like aside from that, didn't really pick up anything really, the light heavyweight title. But Tucker.
Can I just say,
yeah,
how different would WCW had been had the roles been reversed? How WWF had the Rey Mysterios, the Chris Jerichos, the Dean Malenkos, the Glacier, WCW had the Taka Michinoku, and no one else. Like, how different would the Cruiserweight division have been had it been in WWF?
I think Rey Mysterio's career is benefited from the fact he wasn't in WWF at this time. That's just my opinion. And they were all benefited by the point that they were so creatively stifled in WCW that, well, I say creatively stifled, you know what I mean. There wasn't any upward mobility in the card. The fact that kind of pushed them a little bit more in the WWE to make them what they were. That could be just WWE revisionist history, though. So I would understand. But yeah, that would be really sick. Like to see. The undercard of the WCW and the main events of the WWF collided. Oh my god, that'd be insane. But this match, it's fine, serviceable. Christian debuted a month earlier at Breakdown, but this is his first match, and this is why we're doing this show for the first Christian arc episode. Both are heels though, which is weird. Again, Attitude Era booking, I guess. Taka, beautiful springboard plancher, looks great. Edge is watching in the stands though, because he's kind of teasing something going on with Christian. Ultimately though, they just get together and it's nothing really comes of it. So then Christian gets a reverse DDT, gets a couple of suplexes in, and then Taka as well. Big bump over the top. Taka Michinoku's a great seller, by the way, isn't he?
He is indeed.
And he's got, obviously, this is going to sound really stupid, but Taka Michinoku, wouldn't you know it, has the best Michinoku driver.
Yeah.
It's just the way he kind of takes his opponent and folds them up like it's an animation. Like a Captain McKay animation. That might be a bit of a what's the word? A niche reference if people are watching this, but who cares? There's Taka, hits a crossbody. Christian misses a big splash. The crowd isn't really into this one though, from what I could hear. They trade some strikes, and then Taka with Tornado DDT tries to go for the Michinoku driver, but gets rolled up, and then we have a new champion. These two I thought did really well. I don't think the crowd was into it at all, but I understand because you've got someone who's barely been on TV in Taka and someone who's having their first match in Christian. But Christian, he's the first champion, and for his first match, I thought it was decent. There was definitely room for improvement, but there was a lot going on here. It's a shame the crowd wasn't into it, but you can't really blame them. I still like this match a fair bit. But again, it is the Christian arc, so I guess I have to. What did you think about Christian's debut here?
It was a good debut, especially having him teamed with Gangrel, who I think is probably the most underrated. Would he be the most underrated Attitude Era star?
Well, apart from Taka,
Oh, no, Steve motherfucking Blackman is.
Oh yeah, Steve Blackman and Taka in my two, I'd say. But yeah, Gangrel's definitely up there.
Gilbert for me. I don't like Goldberg. Gilbert all the way.
Oh,
Go on, Gilbert.
Go on. Well, Gilbert actually beats Christian later on, so we'll have to wait and see that in a couple of weeks on Raw. But,
no, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen in our eyes. We skip that.
Oh yeah, we closed our eyes. If you close your eyes, Christian's still the light heavyweight champion.
He is forever the light heavyweight champion.
Yeah, they should retire it in his honour. Next up, it's your favourite wrestler.
Val Venis.
Oh yeah. He's taking on Goldust. What a weird little feud this is.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
They've basically went. Do you remember that? I think it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Do you know that guy who goes mental and he has this massive whiteboard?
Oh yeah, Charlie. Yeah.
Yeah. They've basically went. Well, Brian Pillman died a year ago, and we left the story unfinished. So you know what? Get in here, Terry Runnels. and he's just circling everything on the board. Vince Russo was like, I've got this great idea. We redo it with, instead of Brian Pillman, we do it with Val Venis. What do you think, guys? We rehash everything, do it with Val Venis. We couldn't finish it with Brian Pillman, so we do it with Val Venis. Come on. It'd be a great idea, wouldn't it? Come on. I know, I'm a fucking genius. And then you know what else happens? What happens, Russo? You know what happens? Val Venis gets his penis shattered by Goldust. That's what happens. Then he brings out a golden nutcase, and then Val Venis snaps, and then we get this match. And because of that, Val Venis' penis is going to be hurt. And you're like, Jesus Christ, Russo, stop taking drugs.
You know, everything you just described, I loved. Yeah. I loved it. Like, if it happened today, don't get me wrong, I'd hate it. But looking back in hindsight, you know, I'm not a Val Venis fan, but I am a Goldust fan, right? So, yeah, and the thing you said about Brian Pillman...
It's funnier.
Yeah.
Months ago, Goldust went on Raw and he went, you know, I don't know why he's talking in a deep voice. He went, you know, lads, bloody hate this Goldust gimmick. And then he sets it on fire. And then months later, he's like, I love this wig. I really love me. I love Goldust.
Yeah. But then I'm really trying to do mental gymnastics here. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, Goldust burned his Goldust gimmick in, I believe, May of 1998. He said, I don't want to be Goldust anymore. I hate this gimmick. And then he went on as Dustin Runnels, and he loved the Lord. And then he had a thing for ages saying he is coming, referring to the Lord. However, he was referring to Goldust, and he came back, luckily. And the crux of this is that Val Venis made one of his special adult films with Terry, and Goldust isn't happy about that because Terry is Goldust's ex. So they're brawling from the start, and Val goes for a crossbody to the outside. Things slow down a little bit, but there's a cut off with a money shot. No, he tries the money shot. There's Val Venis, which is his finisher. Again, that sounds gross again. It's a splash off the top rope, basically. That sounds gross too. He tries to hit a move and Goldust cuts him off. There you go. Nails a superplex and gets two. Misses an elbow. And then you can see Goldust is wearing his wedding ring as well. So a little bit of a... You see these layers? You're not appreciating about Vince Russo. He's still wearing it, you see, when he takes his glove off.
Vince Russo is literally sat there smoking and said, lads, I am a creative genius. Lads, I am a creative genius, lad.
Too right.
And then Vince McMahon's like, pass me that blunt, brother. Pass me the blunt.
Have you seen the cameo that Vince Russo has done where, you know the bit in The Simpsons where Bart calls Moe to crank call him, and he makes Moe say, hey everybody, I'm a big moron and my butt smells and I like to kiss my own butt. Someone got Vince Russo to say that. So...
do you know what I like? Do you know what my favourite Vince Russo moment is? Yeah. Adam Pacitti. I don't know if you've heard this. It makes me giggle so much. Adam Pacitti was talking about trains, and he basically rated Vince Russo on Twitch. If you don't know what raid is something where when you finish a stream, you can choose what streamer to give your party basically to your viewers. And basically, he told the stream to go into Vince Russo's chat and spam about trains. And then Adam Pacitti made Vince Russo quit live streaming because all you see in the chat is people talking about trains, and Vince Russo goes, bro, what is with this train gimmick, bro? He had to leave the stream.
Oh my god.
He turned off the stream.
That's incredible. I mean...
I'll try and find the clip for you.
I'll watch it after this. But oh my god. Imagine bullying Vince Russo. I mean, I suppose it comes full circle for him, but there you go. So yeah, Terry gets on the apron to yell at Goldust. Goldust ducks a shot from Val Venis. Referee tries to get Terry away, and Goldust using that distraction to kick Val in the groin with a low blow for the win. So yeah, Val Venis's ultimate weapon became his kryptonite. So yeah, fantastic. Vince Russo, I applaud you. In all seriousness, I actually really like this. Did you think the same as me or no?
No. I'm just imagining Russo backstage. Russo's backstage and he's like, lads, 5-star classic.
Well,
I know.
In my view, this was my my Austin Rock in many ways. If Austin Rock was...
You're special. You do.
The penis in my eyes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Didn't know you swung that way.
It's Austin versus Rock, except instead of the WWF Championship and Terry... No, instead of WWF Championship and Deborah, it's about Terry Runnels and Val Venis' penis. So, I appreciate that.
Lads, look, I'm a creative genius, lads. Lads. Give me the awards now, lads.
Well, you know what? I liked it. Alright, well, I like how we agree on this. Disagree on this anyway. It's fine. But I will agree with you on the next match, because I know you like this next match, yeah? I can sense it. It's for the European Championship. X-Pac challenges the champion D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown, the greatest European champion ever. Or in the words of Kurt Angle, Kurt Angle said he was the first ever Intercontinental Champion. I'd say D'Lo Brown, and if you're going to think about D'Lo Brown, I don't count him because he sucks. So, not very nice to D'Lo Brown, because I like D'Lo Brown a lot, and I like X-Pac a lot, and every time these two had a match, it was really good. So, this one, actually, before we talk about X-Pac and this match, do you want to talk about D'Lo Brown and X-Pac? What are your thoughts on these two? Because they were like, you talk about WCW's undercard, but I feel like these two were standouts of the WWF undercard at the time.
These were the Kurt Angle, the Benoit, and the Jericho of the 90s. Before Angle, Benoit, and Jericho come in. These guys were killing it. To me, if you wanted good wrestling, you get D'Lo Brown and X-Pac in the room. And they could go. Like, I understand people go, well, Austin can go. Yeah, but if you want a technical match, not a technical match, if you want a good match, go to these two. I love X-Pac. He's arguably one of my favourite Attitude Era wrestlers. He's with there with Christian, Steve motherfucking Blackman, Al Snow, and Edge.
It's a real shame that they kind of get pushed aside in 2000.
Yeah.
This is the start of X-Pac heat it's the start of X-Pac heat in 2000 as well. And I guess you could say D'Lo heat in a way as well when he's with Chaz in Lowdown, Like, it's weird how nothing really happens for them beyond 99, which is a shame because they were really carrying a lot of the mid-card in at this time.
It's funny, like, it's how I imagined it went in 2000 was, like, you go into a shopping centre, like, you go into your toy store, and you basically go into the we'll say F at the time, you go into the WWF section, and they have the WCW wrestlers there as well. I just like to imagine Vince walking in going, I really love these toy-based figures of Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho, and Eddie Guerrero. Get me them on the phone. He just starts playing with them. He plays with the toy-based versions.
That's in his mind. In his brain, that's what's going on. Like, I'm bored of these two now. They got all scuffs on him. I've put them in every scenario I can think of. They're not beating my Steve Austin and The Rock.
What?
They ain't beating my Steve Austin and The Rock. They're all scuffed up.
Benoit nearly beat... How history would have been different had Benoit beaten The Rock in 2000?
I guess we'll never know. Probably for the best, though, in hindsight.
Probably, yeah.
I don't think a WWF Championship win for Chris Benoit would have changed the outcome of his grisly death.
I don't think so. But the year 2000 wouldn't have been remembered well had that happened.
Yeah, I'm not going to rebook a murder-suicide, but we'll do that in another episode, I'm sure. So this match, I'm sorry we went on to that. This is X-Pac and D'Lo Brown, come on. X-Pac is really quick, but then D'Lo comes with a great clothesline. And we're talking about Taker's great selling earlier on. X-Pac is also a really good seller. He tries the Bronco Buster, but D'Lo gets a boot up. Ouch. X-Pac as well takes a really good bump from this. D'Lo wears down Pac. And then, they've got... as well, you were talking about the results from Raw in the IC title tournament. JR brings that up because X-Pac was in the finals, so he wrestled 3 times on Monday. And yeah, X-Pac is still trying to fight back. And the Cloverleaf is pretty good. Good psychology there to work on the back of X-Pac so he can't do his quick stuff. Pac kicks a big clothesline and then another Bronco Buster, but this time it connects. Chyna gets a cheap shot, and then Mark Henry comes out to flirt with Chyna, give him all these kisses, woo woo woo. Belt shot from Brown, and then X-Pac kicks out, and also kicks out of a running powerbomb. Pretty impressive. D'Lo Brown goes up to the top rope for the lowdown, but then caught in mid-air with an X-Factor. Good grief, what a finish. And then X-Pac wins. Oh, beautiful. Pac bumping all over the place, and awesome finish. What did you think of this match?
I loved this match, and I loved the finish. I can't give it enough 5 stars. It was the best match of the night.
Oh, by far. By far it was the best match of the night. I know I memed the Venis and Rhodes match, but this one actually was really good.
Yeah. Like, these 2 wrestlers are pretty good. Like, if people, like, I don't know what to say, because it was too good.
Yeah, no, it was fast paced. It was a breath of fresh air, and also it was given like, I want to say like 15 minutes. So it was given a lot more time than a lot of the matches on this card. Some of the matches on this card should not have had the time that they did, including the next match, but I'll get to that in a moment. But this one, yeah, given like 15 minutes, really good fast paced action, good story being told, and new champion at the end of it. Yeah, this is what the European division could have been, because you had the Intercontinental title. This European Championship actually is what I would argue the equivalent around this time of what the Cruiserweight Championship was trying to achieve. Work rate matches, that kind of thing, between like mid card guys. So yeah, I appreciated that, and a really good match. So yeah, I'm glad we're in agreement on that one. Hate this next match. I don't know why. And this might annoy you because aren't you a Headbanger fan?
Kind of.
Yeah, so, Headbangers getting interviewed backstage and they say, oh, New Age Outlaws, they're gay. Anyway.
Hilarious.
Oh, well, never mind. Next match is for the WWF Tag Team titles. The New Age Outlaws defend against the Headbangers. And New Age Outlaws, like, obviously in real life, I don't care for Road Dogg, but I really like Billy Gunn. And that's probably the same in wrestling terms as well. But Road Dogg is good on the mic, don't get me wrong. So, Headbangers jump the Outlaws. And then Billy tries to get everyone to chant suck it. And, interesting. Gunn gets a tag. And then gets worked over too. There's a couple of flashes from Billy. But nothing really I can remember from this match, actually, to be honest. I mean, what did you think of this?
It was a nothing match.
Yeah, the boombox, though. Smashed a boombox over Mosh's head, like they did on Raw before.
How did they do that gimmick? Like, how did you, like, was it an actual boombox, or did they get a boombox made, is my question.
You see, that's my thing, is because this is a, what's the word? No, it was a fake boombox, because I know JR would have said something along the lines of, I don't know if he did it here, but he did it on the Raw, where he was like, that's no JVC kaboom box, because those kaboom boxes are the best, and they withstand that. So it must have been a fake one that they had made to smash up like that. But yeah, DQ. Blech. It was like 15 minutes as well. Too long. Didn't like it. What did you... So you're not a fan of this either, then?
No. Even though Billy Gunn and Road Dogg are arguably one of the best tag teams of the Attitude Era.
Oh, yeah, but I feel like it's hit and miss with them. Like, it depends who they're facing, really. And I don't think this was the right move for them. I'm not saying I dislike the Headbangers either. It just wasn't a good match.
Yeah.
So, next up, Mankind getting interviewed by Michael Cole. Looks like a baby. Ooh. And, he arguing with Mr. Socko and says Ken Shamrock's boring. I can't remember the exact line he says, though. I know it was quite funny to me.
Ken Shamrock is the reason why teenage suicide ratings go up. Ken Shamrock almost.
That was it. I thought it was something horrible. But yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, the Intercontinental title's on the line next. Ken Shamrock defends against Mankind. At the previous pay-per-view in the breakdown, there was a pretty good steel cage between The Rock, Manshrock. I'm getting all these mixed up now. Ken Shamrock, Mankind, and The Rock had a good steel cage match. And now The Rock is doing something else. So Mankind and Ken Shamrock are fighting here. So Shamrock's stretching out Mankind, working over the arm. But again, he's the ankle lock, so I don't know. Interesting clash. Shamrock is trying to grapple, but Mankind is kind of brawling with him. He keeps escaping the mandible claw because that's Mankind's big finish. So, yeah, Mick Foley, Mankind, I should say, tries to use a DQ, but there it isn't. It would have been a DQ anyway. So, double arm DDT on the concrete. No, it's not on the concrete. I'm getting confused about this match. Yeah, it was the cactus elbow on the floor. That's what I was talking about. And then Shamrock applies the ankle lock. Mankind is in excruciating pain. But rather than submit, what does he do? Because this makes no sense. It makes no sense.
He locks the mandible claw on himself.
So he can make himself pass out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mankind, obviously, he can take a lot of pain. But Shamrock wants to make Mankind give up, but he doesn't give up. I like and I did like this match. I thought it was okay. It dragged a little bit, but anytime, I like both of them, so it was easier to kind of get into this one. Might have gone a little bit too long, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. It's just the finish. I didn't know why I don't like the finish, because I know you can't make yourself pass out. Did you know that?
You can't.
I believe not. I think, if you were to, physically restrain your arms, it's the same thing. You can't put a nerve hold on yourself. I think that's true. And you can't. It's for instance, you can't hold your breath until you pass out because your body will. Well, actually, don't try this at home, please, because this isn't science. This is just rumor, all right, in my head. Please don't try this, all right, because it could be false. Google it after this, right? But I don't think you can hold your breath and make yourself pass out by holding your breath, because your body will immediately make you breathe. If that makes sense. So I don't think this is possible. I know it's wrestling. Please don't try that at home, because I'm sure someone at home will try that and be stupid. Don't do that, all right?
Yeah, please don't.
I like the idea of it though. I like the idea of the finish. But Ken Shamrock is furious that it wasn't the ankle lock that won the match, so he goes furious, stomps on Mankind, and then Mankind gets up and uses Mr. Socko. Woo! But yeah, overall, what did you think of this?
It was a match again. It was a good match though. Not the best match, but
I think it was helped by the people involved.
Yeah.
And you'd think this next match would be helped by the people involved, but it wasn't really. It's Mark Henry versus The Rock. The Rock. I don't know. I don't think this is the match that The Rock should have been on in this night.
No.
But then again, because they're building him up to be the champion, yeah? And he was super over here, and they did the whole, he's turned face at this point, but he's about to do a big swerve at Survivor Series, spoiler alert, and become WWF champion. So they're building him up here, and we'll cut to the finish, because it's a pretty short match. Mark Henry beats The Rock. So obviously Henry does a little poem to China, says he loves her, and all that, cool. It is what it is. The Rock is super over though. He's a big suplex to start, but then Henry kind of grounds him quite a lot. Rock does hit a DDT though, people's elbow as well, and then D'Lo Brown comes in and distracts, and then Henry attacks and hits a splash, and then Mark Henry gets the win. It's not going to hurt The Rock. Obviously it didn't, but it was a bit silly to have him lose here, just in my opinion, because Mark Henry wasn't doing anything here. And if anything, I don't know, maybe, I can kind of excuse it. Maybe it would factor into The Rock turning heel and realising that maybe the people on his side wasn't enough. But yeah, it wasn't the worst match, because at least it was only 5 minutes, but I wasn't really a fan. What did you think?
I wasn't a fan of this match at all.
No, I mean, again, Mark Henry is kind of fresh into his run, but your thoughts on maybe your thoughts on the Nation of Domination, because I don't know if we'll be able to talk about it for a long time. And the whole, because I think they could have done a lot more with the breakup angle after that, but they didn't really go down that route.
I'm a big fan of Nation of Domination. Not my favourite faction, but pretty good.
Yeah, they could have done more though with the in the aftermath. I think obviously The Rock did fine, but the rest of them, I mean, particularly D'Lo. I think D'Lo could have had a fair shake. But we come on to our main event for the WWF Championship. The championship is vacated because the Undertaker and Kane both pinned Steve Austin at Breakdown, causing Vince McMahon to steal the championship and flip off Austin, and that's what led to the Zamboni, the Corvette Concrete, and the Bedpan McMahon segment as well. Great build to this match. Even though it's all about Austin and McMahon, it's still Kane versus the Undertaker, and the referee is Stone Cold Steve Austin, and if Austin does not declare a winner, then he will be fired from the WWF. So, Undertaker and Kane, they've had fair matches in the past. I think it's fair to say they've had good matches in the past. This one ain't one of them, Piggy. And it's a real shame.
What? Between Kane and Undertaker? Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never heard of this match being a good one. But I thought it could have been a hidden gem. I mean, going into this match, what were you expecting?
I was expecting nothing.
Well, you're better than me. I was expecting them to have at least a fun match.
Well, I knew this match was just going to be about Austin screwing both of them over, so I was like, I can't expect anything.
Yeah, I guess. But it went on for ages. I know it's a main event, though. Although I will say, The Undertaker's entrance here is goated.
Yeah, it is.
It's probably been in your recommended in YouTube in the past, anyone listening. They are, The Undertaker's Judgment Day entrance. I don't know if this is the first time he uses that theme song, though. It might be, but it's like the Ministry theme where it goes da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na-na. So I like that one.
It's also the start of the Ministry, actually, because of
it is, yeah. Undertaker turns double heel, if that makes sense here. So they've Undertaker and Kane come out, and then Austin gets a massive pop, as he would. So giving Undertaker, he's doing slow counts, fast ones, so that's interesting. But Undertaker and Kane are just doing boring stuff. I guess it's because they're both heels, and that's what they've been told to do from a storyline perspective. The focus is on Austin. You don't want to, but still, it's a main event of a pay-per-view. Give us something, Undertaker's working over the leg for ages, and then they suddenly beat up Stone Cold. So that's a great psychology there to beat up the referee. Like, you want to have him count the fall. Paul Bearer comes out of a chair and tells Kane he's going to hit Undertaker, and then hits Kane instead. And then Taker levels him with a chair again and covers, but Austin doesn't count. So hits Undertaker with a stunner and a chair shot, and then both men are counted down for 3, and then it's a no contest. Oh god, this is boring. It was horrible. Hate it. Nothing. This could have been done on Raw,
Yeah, this could have been done on Raw.
This exact match should have been done on Raw, and it should have been half its length. And I don't know what they would have done instead. I think, honestly, I think they should have done Kane and the Undertaker versus Austin and The Rock, and then maybe say if The Rock loses, if The Rock gets pinned. No, if Austin's team loses, then Austin gets fired. You pin The Rock, right? And then you continue the stuff they were doing into Survivor Series where The Rock has to fight against the odds, and then you swerve Steve Austin, and that's how The Rock turns heel again, and that's another little piece,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I'd agree. I'd assume it's because of Austin. You don't want to overwork Austin because he is your biggest face.
Yeah, and maybe you don't want to put Austin and Rock in the same scenario, on a big stage just yet, maybe?
Yeah, because they're saving that for WrestleMania 15.
Yeah, so I get that. But I do like the ending segment where Austin dares Vince to fire him since he didn't declare a winner, and then Vince is in a press box above the stage, funny enough, and then says, Austin, screw you, you're fired. Brilliant little bit there. So, But horrible. I'm not done yet. Horrible main event. Hate it. I can't believe how bad it was. Overall, Piggy, your thoughts on Judgment Day 1998?
It was a nothing show. That's it. It was a nothing show.
Nothing really that piqued your interest. I guess because this is the Christian Cage arc. We'll give a thought on the show, and then we'll give a thought on the subject of our arc. So, yeah, not a nothing show. But for Christian, how was it?
It was good. It was good for Christian.
A good showing for Christian. Yeah, I would agree. The show was pretty nothing. I say a bit of a slog. It was a slog to get through. And these WWF pay-per-views, they're kind of hit and miss at this time. It's more about the rules than it is the pay-per-view, so I get it. But yeah, I mean, the main event sucks. Rock and Henry wasn't that great, and the LOD match and the tag title match, not really good. I will say though, X-Pac and D'Lo had a banger of a match that I would recommend checking out. And I know you didn't like it, but Val Venis and Goldust I thought was fun, so that's what it was. And the Intercontinental title match, it was fine. Snow Mero as well was fine, and as was Christian's match. So yeah, the only match that really piqued my interest was X-Pac and D'Lo Brown. The rest of it was either fine or terrible. So yeah, it could have been worse, but it was not the best pay-per-view they put on. But that will change, I promise you. No Mercy 1999 is our next show, and that is going to be better than this, I assure you. It's one of my favourite shows from when I was a kid. I used to watch it over and over again. I had it on DVD, so I'm looking forward to it. And the reason we're doing that one is because it's the first ever tag team ladder match, Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys in the Terry Invitational Tournament. And that's going to be exciting, isn't it? And also,
yeah,
Triple H versus Stone Cold.
Ooh.
So, with that in mind, it's been a good start to this Christian Cage arc. I think we talked about some interesting topics of conversation, and I'm sure we'll delve more into as well Christian Cage's kind of journey from Judgment Day 98 to No Mercy 99, because a lot happens between the Brood and Edge and Christian, and it'll be interesting to talk about. So any final thoughts, Piggy?
I hope you all have a good weekend. Tune in for next week for No Mercy and the end of March when we go back to 2008. So bookmark the end of March, where we bring in a very stormy person. I'm telling you, he's an Australian icon, this person is. Bringing him in.
Oh yeah, are we still, what are we?
We are, we're bringing in the Australian icon.
Oh yeah, of course, and that will not change because there is no... You're throwing him under the bus here.
No, I'm not.
That's a shoot.
I'm not. He's an Australian icon. He's massive in Australia.
He is an Australian icon. He is massive in Australia. Who could it be? Find out next couple of weeks when we do the 2008 show, which we're going to do. But we're going to do No Mercy 99 next week, and we gotta go. See ya. Bye. Say your goodbye. Say your outro.
Bye.